Welcome back to our channel, where today is an absolutely thrilling day to dive into the latest Port Charles madness. The air has suddenly grown thick, choking everyone with the impossible choices laid bare before them. We are watching a seismic shift in momentum, a terrifying tipping point where one spiked drink, one hallucinated whisper, and one desperate power play are about to shatter families forever. I feel an overwhelming sense of electricity rushing through my veins watching the sheer, unadulterated panic radiating from Michael Corinthos. I know a lot of people in the fandom are saying this dark romance with Justinda Bracken is dragging, or that she is simply too cartoonishly evil, but I actually think the slow burn is exactly what's needed, because I feel like it perfectly sets up the catastrophic reality check Michael is experiencing. The way I interpret it, Michael has been walking a very dangerous, morally gray line ever since his divorce from Willow, letting Justinda's ruthless tactics slide because they benefited him. But when Justinda stands there and boldly admits she scored pills from Ezra Boyle to drug Willow's iced latte, the entire atmosphere of the room shifts. I love the way the lighting changed when Justinda confessed. The shadows seemed to stretch across her face, highlighting the absolute madness of her rogue operation. I feel so incredibly relieved by Michael's furious reaction in this scene, because to me it finally proved that his protective instincts as a father will always override his romantic instincts. The absolute horror in Michael's eyes when he realizes Justinda didn't just target his ex-wife, but actively endangered the mother of Wiley and Amelia is a masterclass. I believe this is the best they've written Michael in years, because he isn't just reacting with mob-style anger, he is reacting with the primal terror of a parent. I think the writer's choice to have Justinda deliver this news with a hint of twisted pride was brilliant, because it made me feel the exact same revulsion Michael is. He realizes in real time that Justinda's hatred for Willow's restraining order has morphed into a lethal liability. And that liability is currently playing out in the most horrifying way imaginable over at Nina Reeve. I feel a profound, suffocating sense of dread watching a deeply loopy, heavily drugged Willow gather her children. The sheer cinematic horror of this sequence cannot be overstated. When Willow giggles and slurs, "The last one to the car is a rotten egg," my stomach completely dropped. Every time I share my anxiety about this plot, I have to anchor it to the devastating irony of what is happening on screen. Willow spent months secretly dosing Drew Kane with paralytics, trapping him in his own body, and now, in a twist of brutal karmic retribution, she is the one whose mind and motor functions have been hijacked by a chemical agent. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we just view this as a standard soap opera peril trope. The way I see it, this is a profound psychological thriller playing out in broad daylight. I feel breathless watching Willow stumble toward her vehicle with Wiley and Amelia in tow. The juxtaposition of her cheerful, childlike dialogue with the impending vehicular disaster is chilling. I think the director's choice to frame the shot from a low angle, making Willow look unsteady and disoriented while the innocent children look up to her, is a stroke of absolute genius. It makes me feel the terrifying vulnerability of those kids. Will Michael get there in time? Will Nina realize the iced latte next to hers was the weapon that broke her daughter's mind? I believe the sheer suspense of this sequence is the pinnacle of daytime television right now, rooting us deeply in the terrifying consequences of Justinda's action. But the tension doesn't stop there, because the simmering twin rivalry between Jason and Drew Kane has finally reached a boiling point. I know some viewers have complained that Jason's return has been too subdued, but I think his quiet, traumatized demeanor is exactly what makes his current scene so powerful. I feel deeply moved by Steve Burton's physical acting here. You can still see the lingering exhaustion of his WSB captivity in Jakarta, but the moment Drew approaches him, Jason's protective instincts flare up like a shield. Sam is gone. Cyrus Renault took her from them, and now Jason is the absolute only parent Danny has left. When Jason scowls at Drew, I feel the weight of that tragic loss anchoring his every movement. The way I interpret their encounter on the docks is that it is no longer about business, or the Quartermain legacy, or even their shared face. It is entirely about survival and family. Drew has become completely unhinged since recovering from Willow's paralytic torture. When Drew leans in, his voice dripping with venom, and says, "You would be very wise not to test me on that. It gave me genuine chills." I love the specific camera push-in on Drew's face when he delivered that line. It made me feel the absolute lack of humanity left in him. Drew is trying to assert dominance, likely over Danny's involvement with Scout or the family dynamics, and Jason is standing there like an immovable stone wall. I think Jason is absolutely right to treat Drew as a hostile threat, and here is why their dialogue backed up my take. Jason doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His silent, lethal glare communicates that he will burn Port Charles to the ground to keep Danny safe from Drew's toxic orbit. I feel an incredible rush of adrenaline watching these two titans circle each other, knowing that the collateral damage of their war will be catastrophic. Speaking of catastrophic collateral damage, the psychological horror unfolding at General Hospital between Anna Devane and Britt Westbourne is breaking my heart into a million pieces. I feel a deep, agonizing sorrow for Britt in the She has survived the absolute hell of Ross Cullum's saline syringe fake-out, the terror of WSB lockup in Tortola, and the heartbreak of Jason ghosting her. When Britt finally loses her temper in the hospital corridor, screaming at Anna and asking how much it would cost her to show a little compassion, I feel the raw, bleeding edge of Britt's trauma. Kelly Thiebaud is delivering a masterclass in vulnerability masked as rage. But what makes this scene a true masterpiece is Anna's reaction, or rather, her lack of one. I know a lot of people are saying this storyline is ruining Anna's legacy as a hero, but I actually think this descent into madness is exactly what's needed, because I feel like it honors the severe psychological torture she endured at Windermere. I think the writer's choice to have Anna stare blankly at Britt was brilliant, because it made me feel the terrifying isolation of when Britt is yelling, Anna isn't hearing her. Anna is listening to the hallucinated voice of Peter August. I feel genuine terror watching the ghost of Peter whisper in Anna's ear, manipulating Britt's emotional outburst to push Anna toward a deadly take. The way I see it, Peter is using Britt's anger as proof that Britt is an enemy who needs to be. I believe Finola Hughes is conveying so much agony through her eyes alone. You can see the legendary WSB agent fighting a losing battle against her own fractured. Every time I watch Anna succumb to Peter's dark suggestions, I feel a knot in my stomach, anchored entirely to the tragic reality that Anna is about to destroy an innocent woman because her mind is holding her hostage. And while Anna is trapped in her own mind, Jocelyn Jax is fighting tooth and nail to escape the suffocating grip of her mother's control. I feel an intense surge of pride watching Jocelyn stand her ground in Carly's kitchen. The way I interpret it, Carly is operating from a place of pure, frantic, maternal terror. She nearly lost Jocelyn to a gunshot wound on Spoon Island, and she will do literally anything to rip her daughter out of the WSB's dangerous clutches. When Jocelyn demands to know how far Carly is willing to go, the tension in the room is palpable. I think the revelation that Jasper Jax named Jocelyn the CEO of his company right before becoming unreachable by sailboat is a brilliant narrative twist. I feel a mix of awe and frustration toward Carly because, in my opinion, this has her fingerprints all over it. Using Jax's corporate empire as a shiny, irresistible lure to pull Jocelyn away from the spy life is such a classic manipulative Carly Spencer move. But I love the way Jocelyn immediately saw through the facade. When Jocelyn warns Carly that this blatant manipulation isn't going to work, I feel the absolute shifting of the power dynamic between mother and daughter. I believe Jocelyn is absolutely right here, and here is why her dialogue backed up my take. She doesn't yell. She simply states her boundaries with the cold, hard authority of a trained WSB. I feel like this is the best they've written Jocelyn, because she is no longer just Carly's daughter. She is her own formidable force, and she is making it crystal clear that her life belongs to her alone. I feel so incredibly invested in every single one of these character arcs. The writers are weaving a tapestry of trauma, control, and desperate love that has me glued to my screen every single weekday. Whether it is Michael racing against time to save his drugged ex-wife from a fatal car ride, Jason standing as the ultimate shield against Drew's dark vengeance, Anna losing her soul to the ghost of Peter August, or Jocelyn breaking the chains of Carly's desperate protection, every scene is dripping with emotional resonance. I think we are witnessing a golden era of character-driven storytelling, and I cannot wait to see how these impossible choices violently collide. Will Michael reach Willow before tragedy strikes, or is it already too late? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and join us tomorrow.